Welcome to Workmorphous Wired. I'm your host, Emily Fabiano. In this episode, we're kicking off our new client success story series where we'll celebrate the achievements of one of our partners in each episode. Beyond giving our partners some well-deserved recognition, we will be exploring key lessons that we've learned along the way that you can apply to advance your organization's goals. My hope is that you'll come away feeling inspired by what thoughtful collaboration can achieve and motivated to tackle your next big challenge. With that in mind, let's dive in. Welcome to Workmorphous Wired. Today, I'm excited to welcome Eddie Pauline to the podcast. Eddie is the president and CEO of the Ohio Life Sciences Association and Foundation, where he's leading efforts to make Ohio a hub for life-saving medical innovations and biotech growth. Under Eddie's leadership, OLS is addressing challenges like talent shortages, infrastructure needs, and access to capital. Since Eddie joined as president and CEO in 2021, he has transformed how the life sciences industry approaches public-private partnerships and workforce development. I've had the privilege of watching Eddie lead this transformation since 2022, when we first partnered to develop a workforce strategy for Ohio Life Sciences. Eddie also contributes his expertise to broader statewide workforce initiatives as a member of the Governor's Executive Workforce Board. Eddie, it's such a pleasure to have you on the show to share your story. Welcome.
Thanks, Emily. Appreciate the intro, and as always, enjoy spending time with you and the team. Workmorphous was a key partner for us as we launched the refreshed Ohio Life Sciences Association, and specifically zeroed in on workforce. So it's good to reconnect with you again.
Likewise, and excited about all the progress you've made since we started working together. And to start out, if you wouldn't mind, could you just start by telling us a little bit about OLS and its mission?
Sure. Is the state's industry association for biotech and life sciences. We are focused on ensuring that as a biotech innovator, entrepreneur, Ohio will be a place where you can successfully launch and grow a company. For those larger organizations that are already in business, we want to ensure that we've got the right policies in place as a state to also allow those companies to be as successful as possible. We work very closely with our economic development partners and want to ensure that the pipeline of talent here, access to capital, and space is available to assist with those attraction efforts. As Ohio's expertise and assets and capabilities continue to grow in this space, it's important to have a strong trade association supporting that, educating our elected officials about the importance of the industry, bringing our members together, and just creating as strong of an ecosystem as we can. So our vision is that Ohio will be one of the top places in the country to build and grow a life sciences organization and really be a hub of creating life-saving innovations for patients around the globe.
Love it. And it's been amazing to see how much the organization has transformed since you took the lead in 2021. What are some of the key things that have changed since you took over in 2021?
So I think the real credit should go to our board of directors. We've got a great team of people assembled both on the foundation side and the association side of the business that really saw an opportunity to elevate the organization in a way that would ensure that the industry, as it was growing in Ohio, sort of had a seat at the table. So, they made the decision to pivot the strategy, focus the organization on economic development and advocacy. And I was able to sort of step in and kind of further build out that strategy on their behalf. So I really do give a lot of credit to our strong board for kind of changing the direction of the organization. That change included a pretty significant rehaul of sort of our business structure. Initially, the organization was running as a 501c3 nonprofit. That limited the amount of advocacy and lobbying that we could do. So we ended up setting up a 501c6, which led to the creation of association. And then we also launched a political action committee. As we were going through that process, given the significance of the changes, we thought it was probably a good time to refresh the brand as well. So in November of 2022, we officially launched Ohio Life Sciences as the new brand that would embody this much more engaged industry association, the foundation, of course, and then the political action committee. The biggest change probably resulted from a new Ohio State earmark that we were successful in getting because we focused so much on workforce, and we knew that was a barrier to seeing the industry continue to grow. We wanted to build a strong strategy around that. That's how we started the relationship with Workmorphus, of course. You kind of helped us build that out. That work led to us getting a $5 million earmark from the state of Ohio through state operating dollars, and $2.5 million a year for 2 years. We've been investing that money into activating the workforce development strategy that we developed in partnership with Workmorphus. So I can go on about the timing of everything and the interesting challenges that we face, not only securing those dollars, but then actually getting the dollars. But that might be another podcast. For now, we can focus on all the good things that we've been able to do with those funds, and it's really transformed the organization.
Yeah, it's been amazing to see the growth in the team and the focus and how you've been able to engage members now that you've kind of unlocked some new opportunities and new public-private partnerships, which I want to come back to. But before I do, you mentioned all the different areas that Ohio Life Sciences works in, all the innovation focus and infrastructure and things like that. With so many different challenges and opportunities facing an industry that's growing the way that life sciences is in Ohio, why is workforce development such a key priority for you and your member organizations?
Well, it's really the linchpin of activating a strong ecosystem. I think from there's a couple things going on with it. We talk a lot about the importance of the emerging workforce, so the K through 12 audience. We talk about the importance of the incumbent workforce, those already working. Maybe they're working in an industry that's declining. Are they aware of the life sciences and the opportunity that it presents? And then, of course, we talk about the imminent workforce, those in college or trade school or ready to get a job. All of those pools of talent need to know about the life sciences in order for the industry to truly grow. If you're a company searching for immediate talent, you want access to that imminent workforce. We as a trade association need to ensure that the educational infrastructure in the state is providing the right curriculum and courses, so to allow those people to go get those jobs. From a longer term recruiting standpoint, companies that are interested in getting into the schools, are they able to do that? Are teachers in elementary schools and junior highs talking about the life sciences? So there's a lot going on in terms of ensuring that life sciences, biotech is sort of present in all of those really important populations of potential workers. If all of those populations are robust and aware of the industry, it makes it a lot easier for a company to build a sustainable talent pipeline.
Absolutely. That early intervention focus that you all have, focusing on as early as K-12, and the awareness that you're building is so critical to the future of the industry and the talent pipeline. And it's interesting, that's one of the things that we heard in those discovery input sessions with member companies and educational institutions, was just awareness was an area that needed a lot of support, because people have some ideas maybe about the types of careers, but particularly for those younger populations, it's important to help them imagine what they can be in life sciences.
Yeah, and it's really one of these things, Emily, where we're trying to still get our head around, like, how do you, as you can certainly appreciate, the work that we're doing is really high touch, and it's often we have a very small team right now. The OLS team is, I think, 5 strong, with one dedicated workforce development professional helping us lead all this. How do you get teachers across Ohio aware of the industry in a scalable way? How do you ensure that, all the universities are some way teaching something about biotech? I mean, Ohio State alone, for example, could consume all of our time in terms of, making companies aware of what's going on there or what could be going on there. So it's an interest. Workforce development support is an interesting environment. You can try to solve everyone's problems, or you can focus in on one thing. I think both are really important. We're trying to balance that right now with our resources.
Yeah, certainly. It's a very high touch area and a lot of communication needed, but also that's the power of these networks that you're building, these coalitions of people, because I know from our experiences together that you've got member companies that are ready to go. They're ready to partner with institutions. In many cases they already are, and they're looking for those efficiencies to improve the way they interact and partner. During our input sessions and surveys, we learned a lot of really interesting information from member companies and educational institutions. Thinking back to the time when we did that, was there anything in those findings that surprised you or stood out?
Well, I think the surprise was sort of the realization of how diverse a company's HR/talent infrastructure might be. As you hinted at, you have many companies in our industry that have very sophisticated, mature talent infrastructure. They know how to go build relationships with universities. They have people to show up at recruiting fairs. And then we have a bunch of companies, people, 10 or less type firms, maybe 50 employees or less, that simply don't have the bandwidth to do this well. They're the ones that really need a lot of support. But even going back to some of the mature organizations, they've come to us asking about C-level talent recruiting, how to do that better. Do we know people that can serve in these roles of CEOs, CFOs, et cetera? So again, for us as a trade association to try to figure out how you help a company who may not have a sophisticated, mature talent infrastructure go recruit at a college, to trying to help somebody recruit a CEO, to then helping with just general industry awareness, it becomes a pretty long menu of services that people expect from you. And it becomes really expensive to try to run. So we're just trying to manage through that and make sure our elected officials know that the resources that they are putting into this are really helpful, because it does need subsidies. Like, I know there's often states have some hesitation with supporting industry directly, but in this case, some of these activities need the support because companies simply can't afford to do them. So they need a little bit of a head start, which I think between Ohio Life Sciences and the state of Ohio, we're now providing at least more than we were before.
Yeah, absolutely. It's awesome. It's really impressive to see the way that you guys were able to work in partnership with the state of Ohio to secure that level of support. I want to come back to the industry education partnerships, because that was the thing that stood out to me the most, was just the overwhelming desire for strengthened industry education partnerships. Because sometimes in workforce development, we hear hesitation from employers about engaging. How do we engage? How do we even get started? But in life sciences, what we heard is, we love our partnerships with education and we want to have even stronger ones. We want to be more effective and make sure that we have, an efficient way to communicate with, points of contact and things like that. Just out of curiosity, how have you seen this evolve since those conversations happened in 2022? Are there any specific partnerships that you're particularly excited about that you've seen come out of OLS?
Yeah, I mean, again, you're reminding me the eagerness of both education partners and employers that they both have to come together and build out different programs. We were talking to Forge Biologics the other day about some workforce things, and they were talking about the fact that they're hit, weekly by dozens of different education opportunities. And they, even at their size, run into some bandwidth issues, like how many tours can we host? How many teachers can we bring in here? How many times can a Forge employee show up at a school around Ohio? The opportunity's really endless. And I think that creates a little bit of frustration because, again, there's this idea, there's just a supply and demand issue. There's a lot of opportunity, a lot of excited education partners, both at the university level, the community college level, the elementary level, that want to do good things for their students, but there's only so much capacity with our employers right now to accommodate all of that interest. So we're trying to figure out, are there tech solutions that could help manage some of this? And we have a brewing partnership right now with a company called InnoSource. You might be familiar with them, some of the work they did with Jobs Ohio. But we've got a couple of interesting ideas for adding a technical solution for a little bit of this matchmaking and just management of different opportunities that are coming both from the employer side and the education partner side of the
That's really great to hear. And I know that was one of the top things we heard about, is just even making stronger connections between contacts at institutions of education, higher education, and companies because of that turnover. And then also what you alluded to, my words, not yours, over engagement. Because sometimes you get companies who are very willing to step up, but then there are so many education opportunities. There are so many internships that they could host for students that they can get overwhelmed with the number of opportunities out there. So really great to see you thinking about technologies to better connect and offer opportunities to folks that maybe haven't been as engaged before.
Yeah,
It's really
we're
exciting.
excited about this opportunity with InnoSource. We think it might be something that will ultimately be scalable to other potential industries, or at least other state bio associations across the country to manage this type of thing better. But I think ultimately what ends up being required is a human being to at some point intervene in the process. So even though we might have a fancy tech solution, there still needs to be a team of humans behind there that are keeping the data up to date, contacts fresh, guiding some of the applications we may have, or applicants in their journey to find a job. So again, just going back to the high touch nature of this business, there will always, in my belief, need to be a human being attached to a tech solution for it to really be sustainable.
Absolutely. And especially in workforce development, it's so heavily relationship based, and understanding not only who the contact is, but what that relationship looks like, compatibilities between companies and educational institutions based on their goals, things like that is so important and always will require the human touch. I think that's a smart approach.
Yeah. And for us, I think it ends up being even more difficult because just of the subsectors within the industry. So although we talk about biotech and the life sciences, medical device firms need a different profile of a candidate than a therapeutic company. There's the non-medical biomanufacturing piece of our business that needs yet a different. So there's just a lot of different channels within the industry that need some special attention.
Yeah, definitely a difficult challenge to manage. One of the common themes, though, I don't know if it was necessarily a common theme, but one of the greatest needs was the need for technicians across the membership base. And I wanted to congratulate you on your recent announcement with Columbus State. I know that's a big step in the right direction for producing the technicians that the industry needs. Can you share a little bit more about the Biotech Bootcamp and why it's such a big step for OLS?
Yeah, huge step. The team at Columbus State has been just amazing to work with. What's most exciting about that program is that it is going to be scalable to other parts of the state. The curriculum can be implemented by other community colleges. Columbus State is even willing to help stand up these types of things. So we're really excited about that piece. But more importantly, the exciting piece about this is it's a real issue. Ohio has emerged as a destination for pharmaceutical manufacturing work. Over the last couple of years, we've had at least a half dozen pharmaceutical manufacturing facilities pop up in the state. Amgen, National Resilience, American Regent, Abbott Nutrition up in Northwest Ohio, Charles Rivers expanding. So these technicians that are familiar with GMP practices are in high demand. People are talking about a 2,500 to 3,000 person gap in talent over the next couple years. So there's a lot of pressure to build out some programs that are going to create that stronger pipeline of people that these companies can hire immediately. And these are really good paying jobs. People graduating from the pharmaceutical manufacturing boot camp at Columbus State are ending up at Amgen for $22, $25 an hour. They're coming into these programs either underemployed or not employed, so it's life changing training for these people that's ultimately leading to great jobs. At our Columbus State program, again called the Ohio Life Sciences Biotech Bootcamp at Columbus State, we just had a graduation celebration for a cohort that went through that, and I think 80% of the participants were women. A lot of underrepresented groups within the class profile. The program's fully subsidized. Students get a stipend, which helps with childcare costs. So there's a lot of things going right with that type of program that's leading to people getting a career that again is life-changing for them. So we're really eager to educate the state about what we've done with the dollars that they gave us and how we're creating a transformational opportunity for people. We're going to need to do more of it, and it's going to cost more money, but it's a really good pilot.
Absolutely. And it's really amazing the work that Columbus State is doing, how holistic the model is that you have developed together. The idea that childcare and transportation are costs that can be supported for people really helps ensure that they not only enroll but also stay in the program. And then a couple other things I want to give kudos on for that model. The way that it helps people transition into a pathway to an associate's degree, but also gives them the opportunity to leave with a tangible credential that brings value in the marketplace from day one. So they have the option to continue their education or not to, which is really exciting because this is an industry that historically has placed a lot of value and will continue, of course, to place a lot of value on bachelor's degrees and higher. But it's great to see the industry making moves at all levels and making sure that there are great pathways to opportunity in life sciences.
Yeah, critical to do that. I will also. I've been talking about the credit that the state itself deserves, but Jobs Ohio has also been a huge partner in ensuring that this industry is able to build out programs that shore up that pipeline. They through their talent investment with Amgen in particular, led to the first pharmaceutical manufacturing boot camp at Columbus State. And then again, we've been able to layer on now with the Biotech Bootcamp. But, for states that are looking to compete in this space, having a partner like Jobs Ohio at your side is certainly critical. But to your pathway point, we're another program that we're really excited to launch here in January. Back to that emerging audience is it's going to be called the Ohio Life Sciences BioPathways program. So we're going to be launching some programming in the primarily junior high school age populations that's going to do a much better job of illustrating where you could go in this industry. And again, it's not all on a pharmaceutical manufacturing line. It's not all in a research lab. There's just a variety of different jobs available in the life sciences that we know we need to do a better job of illustrating for people. So we're real excited about the BioPathways program and our partnership with a firm called Education Projects, who's helping build that out for us.
That's wonderful to see that coming to fruition, and Education Projects is an amazing group to work with. I'm excited to hear about that announcement that's forthcoming. We'll have to keep an eye out for it and then link to it in our show notes when the episode goes live. But that's really exciting. And you mentioned a couple of times your partnership with the state of Ohio and Jobs Ohio. For those who are not aware, Jobs Ohio is the state's private nonprofit economic development corporation. And it's really strong collaboration there for the industry and beyond. But Eddie, one of the things that we always like to talk about with our partners and clients is the importance of public-private partnership. Can you talk a little bit about the process of essentially partnering with the state so that they could invest in and be a catalyst for these types of programs?
Yeah, I mean, I think again for the industry association, one of our top priorities is to ensure that our elected leaders at all levels are aware of what this industry can provide in terms of economic benefits, but again, more importantly, the patient benefits that the industry has as well. It was really important for us to spend time with our actual employers, understand kind of the work that they do, the challenges that they have. I mean, Emily, I know I did my initial listening tour when I came on board, but through our partnership with Workmorphus, we got even more detailed into what are the real needs of our employers. Through those conversations, we had a really robust list of issues that they had that they articulated were sort of barriers to their continued growth. So understanding that and then being able to articulate that to elected leaders made the pitch a lot easier. Our elected officials knew more about what the potential of the industry was. They knew what some specific barriers were to the industry. We helped them understand how they could help solve some of those challenges. So it was a strong base of a partnership. Then, of course, we were able to bring in the Jobs Ohio side of the partnership as well, which kind of truly created that industry, the state, nonprofit circle that made everything work. So again, much more work to do. I think the education piece of our business, particularly with public policymakers, remains really important. People at that level want to know what the industry is doing for their local district, how many jobs are being created, et cetera. So we're working on a lot of information for them to better understand that. Trying to ensure everyone understands the life-saving nature of the industry. That pitch makes developing partnerships a lot easier than I think some other industries. And of course, demonstrating that we're producing results. The amount of teachers that we've influenced, the amount of jobs that we've helped create, the amount of people graduating from these types of programs remain really critical to continuing on the successful public-private partnership that we have here.
Absolutely. It's exciting to hear, and I think you've set a really strong standard for that public-private partnership, and the ability to communicate openly with the state and share with them all the great things that are happening in the industry has really elevated the presence just since the time you joined the OLS team. I mean, the way that OLS is and the industry is now regarded in these conversations is critical, as evidenced by your engagement on the governor's executive workforce board and the grant that you were able to secure from the state, or the earmark rather. So
Yeah.
really, really exciting.
No, it is exciting, and again, to how specific we want to get with the way you develop that, but I'd say it's relationship heavy work. So the process of building champions at the elected level for your industry is just heavy relationship development. So whether that's your personal relationships with office holders, whether you engage a contract lobbyist, whether you hire somebody that used to work at the state house, whether you bring in a consultant with familiarity with the way funding works. We did pretty much all of that in order to develop a stronger partnership with the state. So it's time intensive, it's relationship heavy, it can be expensive at times, but the outcome is worth it, at least in the case of life sciences.
Yeah, and very evident. For other leaders of industry groups who are maybe newer in the process of tackling workforce challenges, what advice would you give them based on your experience at OLS?
Well, going back to something I mentioned earlier, it can be a little bit of a black hole. People have a lot of issues, and deciding where you think you can make the biggest impact and show the most either immediate or long-term results is something you need to spend some time thinking about. We were in a case where, because of the diversity of our membership, we had lots of things that we could have focused on, but we knew that in order to protect and justify the dollars that we received from the state, we needed some quick wins. So that's a whole different strategy in itself. Who are those partners that you can work with that will help you come up with some immediate wins, show some good results, and then build a story around those that will help people understand that there's even more good things to come with continued investment. So just being strategic and doing a lot of listening, and then making some decisions and prioritizing some things. I mean, you remember, Emily, I think we came up with 22 different initiatives, and we knew that people would laugh at that. So we took little chunks, prioritized 2 or 3, And that way of thinking about it has been very helpful.
That's really great advice. Just the focus on the wins, making sure you can tell the story at any point. And that's so important. It's not just about the outcomes, but also about how you represent those outcomes in your conversations across the state with state leaders, et cetera. And then the prioritization piece as well, not biting off more than you can chew at any one time. Well, this has been wonderful. So much to learn as part of this conversation. I really appreciate your time. As the final question, how can listeners stay up to date on the work that you're leading at OLS?
Well, we at OLS love LinkedIn. A lot of good LinkedIn content we try to put out. We've been increasingly communicating through that platform. Find a lot of value there. We've got a new refreshed website coming out in early 2025 as well as sort of this whole workforce development strategy. Through those, at least those two vehicles, there'd be plenty of info to consume and stay updated on.
Love it. Well, we will be sure to link to the new website and the upcoming announcement in January and to your LinkedIn page in the show notes so that folks can stay up to speed on the work that you're doing. But Eddie, this has been awesome. It's great to see all the work that you and your team have been leading, the progress that you've made just in the time since you joined and since we started working together. So thank you so much for sharing your time and expertise on the podcast.
Thanks again, Emily. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much for joining us for this episode of Workmorphous Wired. If you enjoyed the conversation, please let us know by leaving a rating and review. To make sure you don't miss any future episodes, be sure to subscribe. Finally, if you found value in today's discussion, we hope you'll pass the podcast along to a friend or colleague. As always, thanks for tuning out the noise and tuning in to Workmorphous Wired.